Iowa State dominated Kansas State. So it's time for an updated Locked On Big 12 Power Rankings. This is a Locked On Big 12 Locked On Cyclones crossover.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to a Locked On Big 12 Locked On Cyclones crossover. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. And your second listen, or maybe your first listen even, is Nick Maravets of Locked On Cyclones. Time to update those power rankings. Only 3 teams played. But we can still update those power rankings and then talk about the Johnson family scuffle. We went across the pond for a family reunion, and it did not go very well. Avery Johnson's dad and brother got into a fight in the parking lot outside of the stadium. Then, can Iowa State win the Big 12? Is this the team in the conference now? Can we respect them as such? I think Nick Maravets is going to say yes, and we may have some evidence after this weekend of how that is quite the truth. If you hit subscribe, we both get to keep our jobs. Nick, it's time for the Big 12 Power Rankings, the first of this season. And I want to tell you how I did this. Arizona State at 1 still. Arizona State at 1, conference champions, college football playoff. Iowa State at 2, BYU at 3. I want to tell you how I did this. You're seeing Colorado at 4. You're going, Colorado at 4? That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And maybe it is. But the way that I built the power rankings for 2025 is I went back to week 19 of 2024, and I took those exact power rankings and left them be. It was a time capsule, a beautiful time capsule. Where, Colorado was the 4th best team in the Big 12. TCU at 5, Kansas State at 6, based on how the bowls played out and the regular season played out. So I said, in the era of the transfer portal, we can go, oh, this team's better now because they got a bunch of transfers. I don't want to do that. I just want to go exactly by how you ended last season, and that's where you'll start in the power rankings, and that's where everybody started, is where they left off. And now the Iowa State Cyclones, who were number 3 to end the year last year after their bowl win, sit at number 2 behind Arizona State. Any qualms?
I'm just shocked that it's not number 1. I actually pulled it up right here. The Big 12 football rankings, Iowa State comes in at number 1. The only team with a conference win, so I feel like that's worth noting. I get it. Arizona State hasn't yet had a chance to show what they're made of, but Iowa State has. And if we're going to go week to week, who was the best team in the conference that played last week? Wasn't it Iowa State? Was it not? I guess the only argument you could have would be Kansas, and I would say Kansas State probably is above them just because they actually played a good team and kept it close.
Now that I think about it, Iowa State does have 1,000% more Big 12 wins than anyone else in the conference so far this year, and you drive a hard bargain.
I think it's right.
Yeah, they're at 2 for me because, again, Arizona State won the conference. I think power rankings wise, they like guilty until proven innocent, champions until proven not. And so Iowa State did surpass BYU. I think Iowa State looked like a very complete team. I know we're going to really break down this game in the third segment, but what did you see out of the Cyclones that made you think, okay, this isn't just sloppy football where they got lucky. They actually helped dominate the game against Kansas State?
I actually thought they played really well throughout the game, especially when you look at early. Like, it was sloppy. It was pretty bad. And that was, in my opinion, largely due to the rain. But it's also the first real live football you're playing. And so there is going to be a little bit of rust you got to knock off. I think you could make the argument that Iowa State won this game. I would say maybe 35-17 is the furthest I would push it. And that's just really it gets down to the 2 touchdowns that Kansas State had that were just nukes. And if you eliminate some of those points, and then if Carson Hansen obviously falls in, if maybe we don't fumble it on the goal line, if maybe we don't screw up that play calling at the end of that drive that led to the field goal, I felt like Iowa State played a really complete game. There were just a few things that didn't quite go their way, but they were so small and few and far in between. Like, the coaching was significantly better on Iowa State's side. That partially may have been because Kansas State was just not the best. It wasn't like a very high bar to have to beat. But I didn't see anything from this game that was super duper alarming other than how are we giving up 250-plus yard throws. That was the only thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, a couple broken coverages outside of that, Iowa State, which that's not good, by the way. We shouldn't just pass that off as, hey, couple broken coverages, it's going to happen. It probably shouldn't happen.
That should not be happening. Yes.
Going to win the Big 12 championship, but it did, and Iowa State still won, and they had an opportunity to win by more. And I don't think because of Kansas State's injuries, Dylan Edwards being the big one, you can dilute what Iowa State did in game 1 in Dublin. 5th in the Big 12, TCU. 6th, Baylor. 7, Texas Tech. Now, I think Texas Tech will end the year in the top 3 in the power rankings. I'm not sure about TCU and Baylor. And Kansas State comes in at 8 now. I think it's kind of safe to say I don't want to go doomsday button, obviously, but now you got to fly back from Dublin, and you might just end up being a middle-of-the-pack Big 12 team. This is a really hard thing to recover from.
That's kind of what I was afraid of, just for the loser of this game in general. I'm looking at Kansas State's schedule here. You got North Dakota, Army, Arizona right off the bat here, and then you get a bye. But you're coming back from Dublin, and there was a lot around this game. You know, pep rallies and the trophy ceremony and everything afterwards. It was a huge deal, and this was a very good team that they started off against. I don't know where they'll fall at the end of the year, but this was a momentum game that I brought up multiple times. If you come back on this plane with an L, I think you will react differently than if you have the W. Sure,
no doubt. It's far tougher, given the pomp and circumstance and that you're in Dublin, to reset. And it being week 0 as well, your first taste of college football, you got punched in the mouth, and that's not good. They're at 8 for me. 9, Kansas. They looked good, didn't they?
They looked good against the Fresno State. You know, that's the question.
It's a big question. They look good, though. And so I'll give them credit. Yeah?
How good was their field? You know, we got to factor that in.
Booth, man. They did it. They did a football stadium. And that's not, I don't want to say like surprising or rare, but dope. Kansas at 9, West Virginia 10, Utah 11. Oh, Utah shouldn't be 11. They sucked last year. That's why they're at 11. The power rankings start back off exactly where we ended last season. Cincinnati's at 12, Houston at 13. I think the Houston Cougars will advance mightily. Kind of that 12 through 16, the way the year ended. Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, Arizona, Oklahoma State. I do believe that all but Houston of that category will stay on the lower half of the Big 12 this year. That is where the power rankings will start. And yes, Iowa State could take the number 1 spot, but Arizona State for me is king right now. Anything else egregious on there that you think, this just doesn't make sense?
I don't think it really lines up with your predictions for the end of the year, but you got to understand as a listener, like that's not really what this list is. I'm curious, what does it take for Iowa State to overtake Arizona State? Because to me, right now, they are the best team in the conference. They are the only team with a conference win. Just if you're going week to week, or are we aggregating over the course of the season? Does a loss hurt you? How are we going to be able to get over that hump to number 1?
Yeah, I think the big piece of that is Iowa State winning, Arizona State losing. That's going to be.
So you're going to wait all the way up until they play each other?
No, this is going to be just in general. If we see one team slip up in the non-conference, then you're going to see that obviously they would not be as high in the power rankings. This needs to be Arizona State lost to someone, Iowa State beat someone. Otherwise, I don't think you can dethrone the Sun Devils, and I don't have them in the Big 12 championship this year, so I do believe Iowa State will catch up to them in that 1 spot, or someone will at least. Coming up, little Johnson family get together. The Johnsons, all over each other. Locked on Big 12, Locked on Cyclones. Today's show is brought to you by one of our brand new sponsors here at Locked On, and it is Rugiet. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get 15% off today at Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra, Cialis, maybe even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Next-gen prescription treatment, 3-in-1 formula, dissolves under your tongue, kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours. You stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Over 150,000 men have made the switch. A board-certified doctor ships you your treatment discreetly to your door after you connect with them at Rugiet. And right now, again, you go to Locked On College. You code Locked On College at Rugiet.com, Rugiet.com for 15% off. Today, individual results may vary with prescription treatments. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved. Do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit Rugiet website for full safety information. That is Rugiet. Nick Barabets of Locked On Cyclones. I saw a burner account, what I thought to be a burner account, tweet out after the loss to Iowa State. Just saw Avery Johnson's dad and brother get into a fist fight outside the stadium. Not good. And I thought, that's a thing that a burner would tweet. That's a
That
funny.
makes sense.
They did a funny. This is the Cyclone Larry-esque tweet. We're gonna move on from this. And then all the comments were, "Is this real? Is this real?" And the burner quickly went from burner to like actual human being with
News
saying,
reporter.
"Sadly, I am on the scene actively watching them punch each other." A video comes out, and you can watch the entire minute-long altercation where Avery Johnson's dad is like pinning his brother down in a puddle, like waterboarding his brother in this video. I won't show it because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, but you can find it all over the internet if you do so choose. On a scale of 1 to good, this is just not. That's kind of not how you want to start your year.
This is not a good look for Kansas State, just as a whole. But for the Johnsons, I want to know, what were they arguing about? Like, was the brother saying he could have done better? Is that what would have sparked this? How does it get to this level?
Yeah, you're like, man, Irish food sucks. The dad's like, no, it's not. They have culture. And then it's just pinning him on the asphalt, head in a puddle.
Yeah, it's just not good.
They released a statement. It was a little bit too much to bury. Do you remember? And you might not. It was a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Kansas State went super viral for being really eccentric on TikTok. That's the word that I'm going to use. The football players had made some
remember this?
Eccentric TikToks.
That's a good word.
The limelight has not been kind to Kansas State over the course of the last couple of years, and this is another big moment. They released an apology, and it's Mark and Anthony Johnson sincerely apologize for their actions following yesterday's football game in Ireland. Senseless bickering escalated into an unnecessary fight. I love senseless. We've come to our senses. We were just silly. We were boys. Resolve their differences, take full responsibility, apologize to extended family and immediate family, extend apologies to Kansas State. The alumni, they apologize to every alumni of Kansas State and the Wildcats fans. They regret the incident, have learned from it, and are committed to ensuring they never get into a fist fight outside of a football stadium ever again. I didn't play football or any sport at a high level. I saw some parking lot fights amongst parents and stuff, even in little league games and jazz like that.
Which is totally normal.
Yeah, that's one thing where the cops were on hand most weekends at our little league basketball games, just because.
Oh, definitely.
It's a great place for one parent to get mad at another parent, and it escalates. I've never seen father and son of a, quote, Heisman dark horse get into a scuffle. That's a new one for me.
I absolutely thought it was like mistyped, or my initial reaction was the same as yours. Like, that's hilarious. That's funny. Like, of course, his family would be fighting after the game. There's no way that actually happened, though. See the video. Yeah, they are full on. And it's not like a push and a shove and we're walking down the street. It's a full blown, you're exactly right, pinning him in the asphalt. And I think the best part of this apology is the use of the word bickering. That had to have been inspired by the move over to Ireland. I don't know if I've heard the word bickering since I was maybe 7. Like, that is not a super common word. I love everything about it, though. I'm glad that Iowa State was really what brought this on, because that's Farmageddon in a nutshell for you. That's why it needs to keep going.
We're going to add that to the list of things that have happened in Farmageddon. There, people always tell of the Utah cheerleader that beat up a BYU fan one year in the Holy War. This last year, there was the cheerleading coach, I think, got hit in the head with a water bottle and got a concussion. Yeah, that sounds not right. Funny. Shouldn't be laughing.
We don't condone this.
We don't do concussions on Locked On Big 12. That's not good. But there are some legendary moments amongst. There was the time that, this is insane, the University of Texas students on a game week against Baylor came to Waco, killed the live bear mascot on campus. Like, we went from, hey, we're going to pour Dr. Pepper all over your stuff and in your convertibles because get it, Dr. Pepper, to we're going to kill your bear. There are a lot of Baylor burned down TCU's campus one time. That's awesome. TCU literally had to relocate out of Waco, where it used to be, to Dallas, Fort Worth, because Baylor burned their campus down.
And people say the Big 12 isn't electric.
Rivalries do a lot of extreme things. This is going to be yet another chapter in the Kansas State, Iowa State Farmageddon that will end next year, which sucks. Brett Yormark, please don't do that. This is a good tweet from Brad Hallier. Brad says, genuinely feel sorry for Avery Johnson. Too bad he has to be the adult here. Probably tell his dad and brother not to come to another game because it's going to be brutal if they go to road games. That we have entered Jackson Mahomes level of distraction.
That's exactly where my mind went to as well. I feel like if we can't keep it until we get back to the apartment or the hotel, if we're on the road, like we've got to at least push it that far. Get it outside of the cameras. You guys can fight off the camera. Like that's totally fine. If you guys want to have a fight club, I have nothing against that, but maybe we just don't do it right outside the stadium where everyone can see right after on national television. Every football fan in the world is watching Iowa State beat down on Kansas State. Now everyone on the internet is like, you got to wait a little bit longer.
I do feel bad personally for Avery Johnson.
That's not a good look.
Everyone said he's going to win the Heisman. Hasn't done that yet. Everybody's like, okay, this is your Big 12 champion this year. Probably not at this point. And as he underachieves, he's a good quarterback. Just the world put the heftiest, loftiest expectations in college football upon him, and now that compounds with watching your dad and your brother get in a fight in the street.
Does this help? Does this help his case for Heisman? Does this propel him into another stratosphere where he's able to outperform, obviously, what we saw against Iowa State? Because this could drive him. It
definitely, like, ding, with the 17th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Avery Johnson, and they just can't show his family.
They cut to his family, and they're just haymakers.
They're just 7 different cameras across the country. Like, we can't put them in the same room. We can't. It will go bad. That's the inspiration that Avery Johnson is now going to have to reckon with going into the rest of the football season. Iowa State, can they win the Big 12 championship? That is the question. I want the answer. We've got. Oh, let's prove it.
Rolling
Locked
all
on Big
over
12.
the place.
Locked on Cyclones. Hey, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel's exactly where I went this weekend, and I said, FanDuel, can I put as much of my U.S. dollars as I'd like to on the Iowa State Cyclones to win? And FanDuel said yes, and we'll give you money back after it hits. Thanks, FanDuel. August 26th is FanDuel Futures Day. Brand new holiday for football fans. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL preseason predictions. Whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or you got a Super Bowl champ before week 1, this is your moment. So go in there. Pick Dak Prescott for MVP. Crown the Dallas Cowboys your Super Bowl champion in August. Or parlay your division winner dark horses. Visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your futures bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only, August 26th. FanDuel, that's tomorrow. Play your game. Nick Maravets of Locked On Cyclones. Are the Iowa State Cyclones in a position now to win the Big 12 conference after beating Kansas State? And do you think they should be the favorite?
Absolutely. I don't see, and I know that that's going to be a little bit of an overreaction for some people, but they are 1-0, the only 1-0 in the conference team. And that's, I don't think it really sunk in for a lot of people how big this game, like this, it's so easy to think that as week 0 or week 1 game's a throwaway. That's what we're so used to, right? This game actually mattered for conference play. Like, I think people understand that, they know that, but did it really click in that this was a big one? And so I think getting this one over a good opponent in Kansas State, definitely a team that'll be trying to claw their way back at the end of the year. You now have the head-to-head and in the eyes of the committee. At this point, a very good team for what could be a college football playoff push. Just from the numbers standpoint, I think absolutely Iowa State is in this.
What you've kind of concocted here before we get to the rest of the game is a weird scenario in which Iowa State needs to root for Kansas State the rest of the way. The more that Kansas State wins, the better for Iowa State.
Yes, I would agree with that.
That kind of sucks because they're your rival, but also it continues to make your resume look even better. Rocco Becht, 14 for 28. 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. If you gave me that stat line, specifically 14 for 28, I probably would have told you Iowa State is not going to win the game. Part of this is weather. Part of this is the dominance of the run game, or consistency, I should say, of the run game for Iowa State. 46 carries for 130 yards is not necessarily dominating, but it was consistent enough to go 4 yards, cloud of dust, first down, win the game. Rocco Becht, in the biggest moments, was a dude, but 14 for 28 does worry me.
No, I think a lot of that's the rain. I'm not going to lie to you. Some of it's, hard to throw in the rain. Some of it's hard to catch in the rain. And we saw that with the reverse pitch. Yeah. I think Rocco's got all the skill. And the biggest thing to me was a lot of people are talking about Iowa State's offensive line. It was pretty rough for that first, half really was kind of where it was really ugly. How many times did he break out of that situation? Step up in the pocket, evade three. There was a play where I genuinely thought it had to have been a screen, the way that the entire defensive line was just a heat-seeking missile. And he still found a way to evade a lot of those cases. So I think Rocco's got the ability. I think that he's the guy now, right? It's never that he wasn't the guy, but he should be considered one of the top quarterbacks in college football. Don't let the 14-28 fool you. We saw back-to-back dimes. The touchdown to Brett Eskelson came right after a throw to, I believe it was Bramer, could have been Burkle. It was a tight end on the right side. So he threw a dot to the right side, dot to the left side, both in a bucket, both caught, kind of, in a way, but one only counted for the touchdown. That's not in the box score either, right? So you got to account for that stuff. He stepped up when it mattered. He made, and I don't know if you've touched on this, but he was given 2 plays for that 4th down call.
Yeah.
4th and 3. Matt Campbell said, hey, pick one of these. He makes the call, and they obviously converted, right? And he had to make that throw. I saw everything I needed to out of Rocco Becht in this game, and I think he's only going to get better over the course of the year. Just looking at his tape a little bit from last year, he definitely progressed through the course of the year. I thought he looked really good late in the year, and I hope to see the same thing this year, just knocking off the rust a little bit.
Yeah, four times he was sacked, which coming into this contest, two guys who graduated out last year on the offensive line that were really good. You return 3. One of those guys is out. Now you've got 2 of 5. That's not a very good spot to be in. And I didn't think Iowa State's offensive line was elite, but they were good. They were better than I thought that they would completely crumble given the injury issues and the fact that you lost such good talent from last season. And I was surprised last year when you had 2 of the best wide receivers in college football, you're given more of an opportunity to go deep and utilize athleticism from your receivers. This is more of the Iowa State that's going to find the tight end, find the hog molly, find the big boy across the middle, make this thing interesting. And in Big 12 play, I'm interested to see the dichotomy between that and an Arizona State that's going to go to Jordan Tyson, or a Baylor who's got 3 or 4 really good X options who are going to go deep.
I also think we shouldn't sleep on Eskelson. We have heard I know he's not a name that a lot of people know. He just isn't, because he hasn't really had the chance to kind of make the name for himself. But we have heard all offseason how good this guy is. He's killing it in fall camp. He's killing it in spring ball. He's killing it in summer workouts. We have heard this name at Locked On Cyclones all offseason, and it showed, I thought, in this game. I think you're exactly right. I think the tight ends are going to be a massive part of this as well. But granted, keep in mind, we didn't see any of Sowell or Townsend. We did see Sowell drop one, but we didn't see any receptions for either of them. I think that we'll start to see them kind of weave into the game plan a little bit more, maybe some jet sweeps from Townsend. I know that was something that had been mentioned. I'm not worried really about everyone asks, are we worried about the wide receivers? I think we've got it. And Eskelson being an actual wide receiver, I think he's a dude.
Xavier Townsend, not a single catch, which is crazy to me. And Iowa State won the game. When you unlock him on a clear, sunny day in Ames, Iowa, against the Cyclones, as the Cyclones against the Hawkeyes, that's what I think Iowa State can develop into an even better, more dynamic team, is when they get just one singular non-Irish hurricane.
Well, and also think about, too, something we haven't mentioned. Iowa State was extremely disciplined this game. Kansas State, I thought, shot themselves in the feet a couple times, with some holding penalties. I believe they had a false start as well. I'm not entirely sure on that, but it just felt like they were constantly kind of, whenever they broke one, if it wasn't a touchdown, they were kind of getting called back. Iowa State was really, really solid in that regard, and I thought play calling from Mauser was better this year. There were a couple instances. Why are we pitching it on the 1-yard line when it's pouring rain? I don't love that. Why are we throwing it at the end of a drive where we're averaging 5 yards a carry on the ground? Why did we switch that up? There was a couple of moments, but throughout the course of the game, offensively, our play calling made complete sense. Like, it actually was a really good game plan.
This guy, he's been on the screen for a little bit now. If you're watching on the YouTube, his name is Dominic Orange.
Or Big Citrus.
Big Citrus. It's an incredible nickname.
So good.
His stat line's not crazy, but if you watch the game, you're like, who is the 6'4", 325-pound kid who's just wreaking havoc? Even when he's not getting a sack or a tackle for loss, he's just wreaking havoc. I think I love Big Citrus.
How could you not? This graphic was thrown up during the game. He benches 450, squats 650. He cleans 365. Do you know what his vertical is? He's listed at 325, 6'4", 325. You know what his vertical is?
Like 7 inches.
34.
Stop.
It's like, how is that even a human?
Stop.
That's got to be some sort of, that's a robot. I don't know. How is that even possible? So
it's a Big Citrus is what it is.
That's an Iowa State Cyclone for you. That guy, Iowa State loves him, obviously. He chose to come back this season to really prove that he can do it. I thought he played really well in this one, just across the board. Obviously didn't have a crazy box score. Ike was another defensive lineman that I thought stood out. We've heard a lot from this defensive line this offseason, and when they released the depth chart, I thought, oh, man, we are going to cause some problems this season. I think we're going to be a lot better at the run, stop. That was something that the linebackers we struggled with last year. We were so beat up. We were so much more deep at linebacker this year, and that defensive line. Yeah, we are. The question, I believe, was, does Iowa State belong in this Big 12 championship conversation? Are they the favorite? I said this all offseason, and I truly mean it. I don't know how this roster doesn't get back there, or at least within a game. The way that this roster is shaped, where the skill is, where it's deep, it doesn't make sense to put them. You put them at 7 wins. I said there's literally no way that happens. The only way you assume that is if you just assume that they are going to be bad. That is the only way you get to that number.
That's Nick Maravets of Locked On Cyclones. I love doing the podcast every day, don't you?
This is my favorite part of the day.
When the people make it their first listen every single day. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thanks again for making these your first listen every single day. It's Crossover with Cyclones and Dose Grande.